Good evening, everyone. It is Sunday. It is Easter Sunday. It is RJ. So it is time for the Sunday Trivia Recap. All right, like I said, it is time for the Sunday Trivia Recap. Apologies for the late getting to it, but being Easter, there's a lot of things going on today, and I had guests in the bedroom, so I couldn't get my video done early on. So I'm getting to it now. Anyway, let's just jump into it, shall we? Great trivia questions on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Great prizes to give away today. Monday's question. Last week was all about the 70s, 1970s, three great sets shown off from the 1970s, and three questions regarding individuals from the 70s. All right, I said on Monday, which Hall of Fame member, or should just say, I said, which person hit the most home runs during the decade of the 70s? Most people knew that the answer was Willie Stargell. Out of all the great players who were in the 70s, Mr. Stargell slugged the most home runs during that decade. What you're playing for, a really cool card of Amos Otis from the Royals. Had a great career, he did, Mr. Otis. Lengthy career. This is his OPC 1979. That's why it's so miscut, as the OPC cards were wont to do. Like I say, Mr. Otis started his career with the Mets back in the 60s, played through into the 80s, because I know he was on the Royals World Series team that faced the Phillies in the 1980 World Series. But this is a cool OPC card of Mr. Amos Otis. The individuals here on the screen were kind enough to throw out a guess. Nobody brand new to the channel. Lisa Z remains on my list, although her name is not checked, so she is not on the wheel. As my homage to Lisa Z, a longtime supporter of my channel, as well as many other awesome card community channels out there. Let's get to it. We will shuffle once and spin. You must hit 3 times on my channel to win. I do that for 2 reasons. One is because not a lot of people enter, and I have that ability. And the other one is because I always hated when you spin the wheel once for a contest and one person's name comes up and that's the end of it. But you kind of have to do that on a big contest where hundreds of people or dozens of people enter. But in my case, very few people enter, so I have that ability, and I choose to. So you must hit 3 times to win. Good luck to everybody on this one. So yeah, getting to this late. I didn't even get a chance to film any videos, so I can't spoil it and tell you what I'm going to show off this coming week, which I normally already know because I've already filmed it, but I haven't even filmed my videos for this coming week yet. I'll do one tonight, and then I'll do the others tomorrow night or Tuesday night before I have to upload the Wednesday one. Anyway, obviously, since I did the 70s last year, I'm going to bump up to unique sets from the 80s this coming year, so brush up on your 80s trivia. Might just do the same categories, you never know. Whatever strikes me as a great question for the 80s, something I will do. But, yeah, great. A lot of sets in the 80s. 80s is when card collecting really took off again, because the 80s were when, that's 3 for Robert Springs. Pause. Congratulations, Robert. You'll be getting this awesome OPC Amos Otis card. That's coming to you shortly. Wednesday's question. Wednesday I asked, which pitcher had the most victories during the decade of the 70s? Most people knew this one as well. The answer, Mr. Jim Palmer. There you go. Jim Palmer had more victories than anybody else during the decade of the 70s. The individuals here on the screen were kind enough to throw out a guess. No newbies, but a couple. Boston fan is back. He started throwing out some guesses. Bears baseball card is back after a bit of a hiatus. Welcome back, Bear. Everybody else is pretty much a regular. What you're playing for on this one, really awesome. 1978 Ron Guidry card. Pretty good looking one. Not perfect by any means, but pretty nice. Ron Guidry from 1978. That's what you're playing for. And like I said, the individuals up on the screen were kind enough to throw out a guess. We will shuffle once and spin. I think Robert won. Yeah, Robert won on Monday. Robert, you are out. You can only win once a week on my channel. Everybody else is up. Let's spin. Good luck to everybody on this one. Yeah, so like I said, the 70s were, or I'm sorry, the 80s were the decade when card collecting really took off. I mean, card collecting was what it always was for the longest time. There were always people collecting cards. I think the 70s was pretty much when the beginning of the underground card show network began. You had guys putting ads in the newspapers telling you they'd buy your old baseball cards, go into like hotel ballrooms and, you know, seedy motel shows or whatever. That was the infancy of the card hobby the way it is today, the 70s, but in the 80s when it really took off. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that Topps lost its exclusivity during the 80s, and Donruss and Fleer popped up right away, followed quickly by Sports Flicks, believe it or not. Sports Flicks came in 86, and then Score in 88, and Upper Deck in 89. And then you have your modern hobby after that. Very crazy hobby landscape we are in today. Massive shows, massive prices for cards. Things got really out of hand in the latter half of the 80s. Really, that's 3. Pause. Congrats to Joe over Brock's Boys. I think you're I can't remember if you're a Mets fan or a Yankees fan, but you're a Jersey guy, so maybe you'll like this Ron Guidry card. I apologize, I can't remember if you're a Mets or Yankees fan, sir. Moving on to Friday. Friday's question. Which team had the best record, won the most games during the decade of the 70s? These are all questions people looked up really quick to get the right answer. No surprising the answer that came up when you do that. The Cincinnati Reds. Some people might think the Yankees or the A's. The Yankees were pitiful to start the decade. The A's were pitiful at the end of the decade, but the Reds were pretty consistent throughout. They did go through a little bit of a downturn in the late 70s as they started selling off everybody, but for the most part, the Reds were a very good team during the decade of the 70s. What you're playing for, Hall of Fame card, 1974 Jim Kaat. If you recall, I mentioned this appeared to be a miscut edge of the edge of the card, the end corner, because there's some kind of serial number that's half cut right there. This is probably the edge, so a little bit of a miscut, but it is a Hall of Fame card of Mr. Jim Kaat, 1974. That's what you're playing for. The individuals up on the screen were kind enough to throw out a guess. So what do we have? Robert Springs was on Monday, and Joe was on Wednesday. So we got Robert Springs is out. Joe, you're out. Where's Robert? Right there in front of me. Everybody else that's left is still in the running. We will shuffle once and spin. Good luck to everybody on this one. So yes, a lot of fantastic sets were sort of springing up in the 80s. The birth of the box set that I am so personally enamored with. A lot of fantastic different issues, releases. The Tiffany's came out. People were doing insane things with cards starting in the 80s. 89, believe it or not, was when Upper Deck came out. So you had the birth of what we would call the premium brand set. What I would call a premium set when Upper Deck came out in the year 1989. That is 3 quick ones for Adam. Adam, congrats to you, sir. You're going to get this fantastic Jim Cott card. I know you are a big fan of your Hall of Famers. So congrats to you, sir. Hope you enjoy that. That's all I have for you. Quick and done. I'm glad. I didn't want this to be too long. Keep it short and simple. Come back this week for more great content and videos. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope to see you next week. All right. Thanks for watching. Take care.